All right, Reverend Dickson, we talk about Coach Patterson, we talk about Jack Yates, and we talk about 2610 Elgin. And we talk so much about the football team. And we talk so much about Coach Patterson. Didn't he have some assistants to helping him during these days?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he had his assistants were basically those who had played for him a couple of years prior to their coming back to Yates, because most of them, when they left Yates and went to college, they finished in 3 years, and they came back to Yates as Coach Patterson's assistants. I'm talking about players like Raymond Daniels.
Let's talk about Coach Raymond Daniels. He was a good football player back in the day too, wasn't he?
He was a super football player.
Okay.
And not only a super football player, but he was also a hurdler on the track team. But Raymond, and the swimming coach, because he was a swimmer as well. And Coach Raymond Daniels went to TSU, and 3 years later he was back as one of Coach Patterson's assistants. He was instrumental in getting me a uniform, because I went out in the 7th grade for football and I didn't get a uniform. I went out in the 8th grade. I didn't get a uniform. And when I went out in the 9th grade, I would not have gotten a uniform had it not been for Coach Raymond Daniels.
We talk about Coach Raymond Daniels, and I got his son Christopher Daniels, and yeah, he's a big part of our YouTube and Facebook videos. Right. And to know something about his dad, man, and how much his dad contributed to Jack Yates. And what we're trying to do is Jack Yates at 3650 Alabama. We want to try to name that swimming pool after Coach Raymond Daniels. That's what we hate. We missing out on the football field of Coach Pat Patterson and how they played the politics into trying to manipulate and bring the stadium into George Floyd, which we know is an insult to Coach Pat Patterson and even Luther Booker. That's right. But it's never too late to start with our swimming team and that swimming pool over there at Jack Yates, and we can try to at least get something and name it after Coach Raymond Daniels, because he was a big influence in swimming and helping Yates, a powerhouse swimming team in the 50s.
Yeah, that's right. And not only that, Brother Lee, but Raymond Daniels was instrumental not only in the swimming part of his tenure with Yates, but also with the track and the football.
Wow.
Coach Daniels was instrumental in getting me to be the first lifeguard at the YMCA on McGowan. I mean, not on McGowan.
On Wheeler.
On Wheeler.
Right. That's South Central.
That's right, South Central YMCA. Earl Durham and myself were the first lifeguards at the YMCA pool, and only because of Coach Raymond Daniels.
Now that YMCA over there, which was called the South Central YMCA, which was Mr. Meese was the head man over there, along with Mr. Brooks.
That's right.
And to know that they turned that whole back, which is the swimming pool and the gymnasium, to Mr. Brooks, and his wife used to teach over at Blackshill at one time.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't know her, but I was told that. I think Ronnie told me that that she was instrumental in his formative years in elementary school.
And as we look back and see some of the dedicated assistant coaches that Coach Patterson had, and even from the time that you left for there at Yates. And when just give us because you being a minister out here in Independent Heights, and just people don't know all the things that you have contributed to not only Yates but HISD. Give us a little bit rundown, Coach. I call you a coach because you was a coach. I call you a pastor because you was a pastor.
I am a pastor.
And you still a pastor. Y'all see how quick he say, yeah, I'm still a pastor.
That's right.
But still, pastor, Give us the rundown of all this history that you had went through to get to not only leaving Yates.
Yeah. After leaving Yates, I received quite a few scholarships to the black conference schools, which was the Southwestern Athletic Conference at that time. But I ended up attending TSU on a track scholarship.
Now, let me ask you this, because during the time when you came out of Yates in 58, they did not have all integration wasn't there. You know, you couldn't go to these white colleges like you can today.
No. Integration was still in vogue. Segregation was in vogue.
So places like University of Houston and UT,
we couldn't go there.
And SMU, none of these high dollar colleges in Texas was off limits to blacks. Am I right or wrong?
In other words, they did not recruit blacks at that particular time. Now the colleges and universities up north, they were recruiting the black athlete at that time, but here in the South, we were not being recruited by any colleges other than the black colleges in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, Grambling,
which
Wiley,
we call it today the SWAC.
The SWAC, that's right, that's right.
And you know, and to see how well we have progressed, and to see that even in your time coming out of Yates in 1958, blacks there wasn't that many blacks playing professional football.
That's exactly right, because the melting pot of black football out of our conference was Grambling State University.
And that was because of Eddie Robinson.
That's right. And kind of on the coattails of Grambling was Prairie View, and then TSU, and then Wiley, and those other schools like
Florida A&M, which would include Bob Hayes.
But they were not in the Southwest Conference.
Okay,
Alcorn and Mississippi Valley and
Florida A&M was not in there.
Let's not forget Wiley and Bishop at that particular time.
Okay,
And
now we're talking about Wiley and Bishop. Let us know what these colleges used to be at.
And Texas College. Well, there were two colleges recruiting in the Southwest Conference.
But I'm saying as far as education and schools that they could go to, colleges, in case they want to get out of high school and further their career.
Right. Well,
other than Prairie View, Texas Southern,
Wiley and Bishop were located in Marshall, Texas. Both of those, Wiley and Bishop, were in Marshall, Texas,
which is right outside of Houston.
Right outside of Houston, and of course that's the college that Coach Patterson attended.
Was what college now?
Wiley College.
Wow.
He came from Chicago down here to attend Wiley College. And of course, Willie Moses, one of his boys. Now, Willie Moses was also one of Coach Patterson's boys at Yates.
Okay.
And he sent him to Wiley College. And of course, Tigner is going to speak from that aspect as well. But Tigner went to Wiley because Coach Patterson sent him to Wiley.
Okay, so a lot of people that was coming out of Yates was going to Wiley.
That's
because
exactly
Coach
right.
Patterson had connections up at Wiley.
That's
because
right.
He attended Wiley.
That's right. His coach was Coach Pop Long. And Coach Pop Long had a long legacy of coaches who attended Wiley that he coached.
Wow.
And then and that's the reason that it wasn't so hard for Wiley to get these kids, because most of those coaches went to Wiley and they played either baseball or football at Wiley College. So they in turn sent their players, when they became coaches, they sent their players to Wiley College.
Now after you got out and you started working with HSD, what was you first? Was you a coach, or how did that come about?
Let me tell you this, Brother Lee. I became my first coaching job was in Freeport. I was the first black teacher at Freeport Intermediate School.
And what year was that? That had to be in the 70s, huh?
That was 1968.
Wow, that's just when integration just started happening.
That's right. I was the first black teacher there in Freeport Intermediate.
And that's in Brazoria County, right?
That's right. That's in Brazoria County. And the following year, Coach Tusa, who was the athletic director, told me that because I graduated in August, that there were no openings for me because of graduating in August. School started at that particular time.
Is that Joe Matusa? Was he over HISD's athletic director?
He was the athletic director.
And you know, it's so good because right now we got the coach over there at Coach Walker, who is the athletic director now today. And he need to know this too because he's a good young man, and I think he came out of Kashmir, and he's HISD athletic director today.
That's right.
And he keeps up with a lot of my videos, and I want to thank him too, and to let him know that that the legacy of us. When I say us, that means the Jack Yates and the HISD and Joe Matusa, who used to be the athletic director. In fact, when Coach Patterson retired, didn't he go to work for Joe Matusa?
He did. He did. They moved Coach. The athletic director Joe Tusa moved Coach Patterson into that department. He was one of the directors of athletics, and he ended up going to. He was in the department, and he ended up going to Jefferson Stadium as one of the assistant stadium directors.
And we talk about some of the legacy of Jack Yates and their football coaches, and a lot of people didn't even understand. Even Coach Henry, Forrest Henry, you played football against Forrest, and he was the head coach when Coach Patterson left. He came in, and a lot of people didn't know that you used to play football against Forrest Henry because he was playing for Phyllis Wheatley.
Yeah, but Forrest Henry was a little bit before my time.
Mm-hmm. But you knew him.
I knew him well. Mm-hmm. I sure did. Yeah, he was about 4 years ahead of me. Yeah.
But now when you was going to Yates, you started in the 7th grade.
I went out for football in the 7th grade, and I didn't get any equipment. I went out in the 8th grade, didn't get any equipment.
But Yates didn't start until the 7th grade. A lot of people don't understand. People think you started at Yates in the 10th grade. No, you had to go 6 years over at Yates before you can graduate.
That's right. We went to Yates at that location in the 7th grade. The 7th through the 12th grade. And of course, when we graduated in 1958, and they started at the they started a senior high school. That's right. So
that was the first senior high school in 3rd Ward was Jack Yates at 3703 Sampson. This is what we got to let people understand.
That's right.
That Yates at 2610 was a high school that went from the 7th to the 12th.
That's right.
Yates over at 3703 Sampson was a senior high school.
That's right.
You had 3 years over there.
That's right.
You didn't stay over there no 6 years the way you guys had to stay at 2610.
That's right.
Because you guys was a junior and a senior high school.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And for some of the young people that don't understand a lot of things about the low and the high, the midterm and the springtime. Because see, a lot of that stuff people done deleted.
That's right.
A lot of that stuff had been deleted. So a lot of young people didn't understand that you started in the low 7th, and then by January you moved up to the high 7th, right. And then by the spring, that's when you graduated and moved to another grade.
That's right. That's exactly right. And the thing is, and let me tell you this about Coach Andrew Patterson. They didn't have this situation with no pass, no play at that time, but he instituted no pass, no play. In other words, not only no pass, no play, but no practice, no on the team.
Grades didn't come up to par.
By his standards.
By his standards.
If you didn't pass your grades, if he didn't get a report from your and teachers had to give Coach Patterson reports of academic grade reports of all of the players who were in that classroom,
including conduct.
And if we didn't pass Coach Patterson's standards, he would take your uniform.
Wow. Now, and you see Reverend Dickson now, and then you start working with HISD and you start working in the field house. Was that at Delmar?
No, that was at Barnett Stadium. But let me tell you this. Before, when I came to Houston the following year as one of the coaches, I was assigned to Farmville Junior High School. This was during integration, which was 1969. I was assigned to Farmville Junior High School.
Where's that at?
That's on Little York between Northern and Airline.
Okay.
And we fed Sam Houston and then also MC Williams. So after a couple of years there at Farmville, I became the first black head football coach in a white school.
Wow.
In 1973, I became the head football coach at Farmville, which was the first black coach in HISD in a white school.
And then now when you went to work at Barnett, was that stadium fairly new, or when did Barnett? I just know all of a sudden I seen Barnett over there in the Gulf Gate. When did that kind of?
Well, Barnett opened when University of Houston bought Jefferson Stadium. That left us with two stadiums. That left us with Delmar and Butler. So University of Houston bought Jefferson Stadium. So we needed another stadium to house our program.
Okay, that's HISD.
That's right. So Golf Crest was operative in that area where Barnett is, and HISD, but Golf Crest Country.
Golf Crest.
Golf Crest Country Club.
Okay.
A golf course.
Okay.
They were getting ready to move out to another location.
Okay.
So HISD bought that property and built Barnett. Built Barnett.
The help teams like Yates and Wheatley and
that's right.
Milburn and all the schools on the side of town.
That's
to take
right.
some of the load off of Delmar.
Delmar and Butler.
And Butler. And we get the saying here, and I want to talk to Mr. Tickner next, is that the Jefferson Stadium, first it was called the High School Stadium.
That's right. Public school stadium.
Okay, because I noticed here on one of the deals here, they got Jack Yates versus Booker T. Washington High School Stadium. And we noticed that later on they changed it to Jefferson Stadium.
That's right.
And is it that when University of Houston bought it, that's when it turns into Robinson Stadium?
That's right. That's exactly right. And they named it after somebody out of their athletic department. Right.
It's so honored, and we're going to talk next, Coach. I'm going to call you Coach, but since I'm in the house of the Lord, I'm going to call you Pastor.
All right.
Pastor, now one thing about the history that you've given us, and we're going to come back later on, and we're going to talk about how you feel about the way the new Yates at 3650 Alabama, you being part of HISD, you being a Jack Yates alumni, and working up under Coach Pat Patterson, and see how they just totally disrespected Coach Pat Patterson by not naming that football field after him. So we're going to come back and talk to you about that.
All right.
Is that okay?
I'll be glad to talk about that as well.
Thank you so much.